Hi guys, my name is Girish, your host for today for Back to Basics. Another Back to Basics for another week, another day, another week. It is so exciting, and I've been releasing almost every day. And it seems like it's going crazy and people are enjoying my process, and I'm glad that you're here to listen to this episode today. This guest that we have here, I spoke to her maybe a couple of months back, maybe more than that. I really don't know. I just lost count. But she has been a good friend of mine now. We talk casually about many different things, and she's a really, really great soul. And today we're going to talk about a little tough topic, but it needs to be talked out in public and everywhere else. And we are going to invite Shannon to my show, and we're going to talk about LGBTQ plus, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So Shannon, how are you? And thanks for coming on Back to Basics.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited to talk with you about this topic. Thank you for recognizing the importance of this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming here, first of all. But before we talk about all the stuff we're going to talk about today, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
I think back to basics means fundamentals. And for me, the fundamentals of kindness, helping, saying thank you, not all the glam and glitz of social media and all the followers and all the trappings of success. I think it's really about personal relationships and helping others, and really helping others achieve their goals, helps you to achieve your goals. That's what it means to me, and you caught me off guard with that because I didn't know you were going to ask me that question.
Thank you, thank you so much. You know what? I ask the same question to all my guests, and it kind of fascinates me that every guest comes out with a different answer with the same question, because everyone's perspective of Back to Basics is a little different. It could be from a business point of view, life point of view, or what they're doing in the world right now. So thank you again for what you do, and thanks again for coming on the show. Okay, Shannon, today's topic, we're going to talk about LGBTQ plus, right? So what does that mean to you before we get into the details of that, if that's okay with you? What does that mean to you?
Sure. Well, these are letters that represent people of the queer community. Sometimes people see LGBTQ plus. Queer can be like the umbrella term for all of those letters. And it's just people who are not strictly heterosexual, basically. The letters mean different things to different people. Obviously, each letter means something different. We can go into that. But it's kind of funny because this is an acronym that changes over time. TikTok calls it the alphabet mafia. But whenever I'm at home with my mom, who's 81, she always says to me when I start talking about this, she's like, honey, how would you talk if you didn't have the alphabet? That's what I've been trying to figure out. Because she's like, there's all these letters, and all these letters mean things, but they do mean things to people. And it's a way for us to identify our part of this population.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. So Shannon, if it is okay with you, in a brief way, what does the individual letters kind of mean? If you don't mind explaining that, because no matter who I speak with, and no matter when we hang out with friends and whatever, it seems like everyone's perspective and letters are a little different. So can you explain if you don't mind?
Yeah, and that's the thing. The letters are different. I was just talking to a client earlier today, and she told me that on the business call, someone had said, I'm coming out as queer. And she's like, what does that mean? And what I have found is that the letters mean something different to each individual, right? So just on a very basic sense, the L stands for lesbian, which is myself. I consider myself a lesbian. And these are typically women who are attracted to women. I've been a wife for 21 years, and I'm attracted to her, and she's attracted to me. Now, Some, like, I don't really use the term lesbian so much because part of that has been a little bit pejorative. You might hear us referred to as lesies. And, in fact, my brother asked my mom that, hey, Ma, is Shannon a lesie? And my mom goes, ask her yourself. He never did ask, and he absolutely loved my wife. But so that's typically two women together. Then you have the G for gay, which is typically two men who are attracted to each other. But like I said, some women call themselves gay. So most of the times I just say I'm gay. Then you have the B for bisexual. These are individuals who can be attracted to either gender or multiple genders. One of my best friends is bi. You can say bi for short, bisexual. And she says that, sometimes she's with a girl, sometimes she's with a guy, and she could be with someone who's trans even. So that's bi part. And then there's T for transgender, or trans for short. I think the most misunderstood letter of all the letters. And these are individuals who disagree with their assigned anatomy. When the baby is born, the doctor looks between the legs and says, you've got a girl, you've got a boy. Trans people feel like that doesn't align with who they are in their mind and spirit. So it's a disagreement with their anatomical sex. And then you have Q for queer, which basically can be, like I said, the umbrella term for all the letters. And these are individuals who do not see themselves as heterosexual. You have I for intersex. This is the newer term for the older term hermaphrodite. And these are individuals who are assigned maybe sexual characteristics that don't really fall into one of the two categories. So one might be more pronounced than the other, more developed than the other. Sometimes individuals don't know they're intersex until they go through puberty or until they try to conceive. They realize they don't have a uterus, or they have undescended testes, that kind of thing. Also, a lot of times these individuals will have surgeries performed on them at birth that the parent agrees to, and they never tell the child, and then the child grows up and has gender incongruence, doesn't really feel like what's down there really aligns with who they are. And then there's A for asexual, people who don't really have a sexual attraction to anyone. But the letters can go on and on and on, so I always say, when someone tells me what they are and they mention one of the names, queer, bi, trans, I always say, well, what does that mean to you? And like you said, you can really get a lot of different definitions because it's very individual for the person. Like for me, I say gay. I don't really say lesbian, but some people do, and it's totally fine.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And you are right. With these type of letters, it's a perspective for a different way. For example, there's a person that I spoke with, and they said this person is queer. That actually means that maybe they're still deciding. So, and I'm like, okay, maybe you are right in many different ways, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, queer can sometimes be used synonymously with questioning, which is what that person was talking about. They're still, trying to figure that out. But queer used to be a really pejorative term. So if you hear older people within this community, they have some really horror stories about being called queer. So this word has since been reclaimed in recent years. It can be the umbrella term for all of the letters, or it can be that individual person who is still questioning, who they are attracted to, how they identify, or they just don't see themselves as being heterosexual.
Yeah. Thank you again, Shannon, for explaining a little basic way of what these letters mean. But it could mean different things for different people, and this is from your perspective. Just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that, and we're not trying to make anyone in trouble. We're just trying to understand from a different point of view. So thank you again, Shannon, for explaining that. Now, I think you and I, when we spoke, you said that there was different divisions and different definitions for colors. Can you explain what these colors mean, the flags, or I should say the colors right behind you? What does the individual colors mean? And we don't want to go in too much detail because we can just go on and on when these colors are. But let's talk about the
You
basic.
can.
So let's talk about the basic colors, if you don't mind, on that.
Right. Well, I think everyone probably recognizes the pride flag or the rainbow flag, as it's called. And, it's not just a flag that someone threw together. It was like, okay, this is it. The colors actually do mean something to, they're very special. And in a couple of years ago, they added two additional colors to the pride flag. You might see brown on top representing people of color, and then you might see black on top of that, which represents people's lives who have been lost to AIDS. But it means harmony, spirit, those are just some of the words I can think of right now. But it just helps us when we see this, we feel safe in this environment. Like when we see this flag, it just helps us to feel safe. Now, if you have people who can see me now, I have several flags behind me. I've got the transgender flag, which is the pink, blue, white one there. Pink for boys, pink for girls, blue for boys, white for people who are transitioning or not quite sure. And then there's a lesbian flag here that has all those colors. So we could go in for a long time. There's I don't know, 40 something flags that represent. So they're always trying to come up with a flag that's like all inclusive. And I think this progress flag here, which you can see with the chevron, that pretty much covers everybody. But recently I saw this flag with inside the chevron part, the yellow circle for intersex. So I was like, wow, just some beautiful expressions of the community.
Yeah, thank you so much. Is there I'm not trying to be funny, but maybe we need to explain to people, is there like a website or something to explain certain colors and everything like that?
Yeah, there's P-Flag you can go to. There's all you have to do is Google the flags, and there's tons of information out there on what these flags mean. I explain it all. Well, the most popular ones I explain in my book. I explain what all the colors mean and stuff. So just so people can have an idea of what they represent. Because people ask that question a lot of times.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shannon. And just give me a second. Let me talk to my audience here 1 second here. So guys, we have talked about many different things. We talked about letters and we talked about colors, and they're all definitions of different things and what we're talked about. Now, just keep in mind that yes, we are talking on the audio platform and video platform. So if you go to my YouTube, you can see all the colors behind Shannon right now, and you'll see they're different perspective from a different way. There is pinkish, which is on a different level. There's black for different reasons, and I think she's also mentioned a website too. So we'll follow that too on top of that. So thank you again, guys. Shannon, so thank you again for that. So now let me explain here. Why is it a certain month we have to be out? I mean, just a month ago, we just came out with coming out day, right? The month of October. So why is it just October? Why can't we just do it any other day? Is it just one of those national days that we just celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the national days to celebrate. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, Shannon, we don't have straight parades, or I don't go around talking about being straight. And that's usually, a lot of straight people's argument, which I totally get. Like, why do we have to have pride? Why do we have to have Pride Month? But if you think about it, this is how I look at it. My wife and I just returned from P-Town this past weekend, in Provincetown, Massachusetts, and it was Women's Week there. So there's a lot of gay women. It's just a great place to go. It's a gay community. I call it a gay town. And you just can let your hair down and be yourself. So I was talking to my sister, who's straight, married, children, and she said, why do you need to go there? Like, she couldn't really understand why I felt the need to drive 5 hours to go be around people like me. And I said, Valerie, imagine in your town, you're the only straight person and everybody around you is gay. Do you hold your husband's hand when you walk outside? Is that safe? Can you put a picture of you and your husband at your desk and it not get vandalized? Is that safe? So for us, it's an opportunity for us to express who we are, be proud of who we are, come out if it's safe, because it's not in many places. Nearly 50% of us hide in the workforce. We hide. Why? I hid for years. We're afraid of being passed over for promotions. We're afraid of being discriminated against. We're afraid of if we strike up a conversation with someone, that person's going to think we're attracted to them. There's all these things we have to think about when it comes to this. And, it just helps us to feel visible, appreciated, recognized. And I dream of the day where my services are no longer needed, that it is the norm. Like everyone just blends in together and there's no need to highlight our community. But as of now, there still is, because we are so marginalized still in many ways.
Yeah. Thank you so much, because sometimes it's okay to be free, but then people, they judge you, and I think there's a certain place just to be safe. Um Maybe, there's a different perspective as to what your sister said, that, what, these don't need to do all that. I think you can do it out of the world, but then I think the world is also an ugly place, and we don't know how to react when these things happen. So yeah, so sorry about that, but thank you for explaining that to us.
It can be an ugly place, but being on shows like yours and explaining it, and when I explained it to her, you know what she said? She said, "Oh, I get it. I get it." And I was like, yeah. And so what I find is that a lot of people want to know about us and our community.
Sure.
And they want to be allies. They want to be friends. They want to help. They want to support. And maybe they just don't know how to. They don't really know how to ask. They don't know, like the person I was telling you about earlier who said the person came out as queer, she was like, I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I wanted to talk to you first, but I wanted to support this person. And I was like, wow, that's great. And you know what she said? She said, I looked it up last night and I read up on it. And that's all we're asking. Like, we understand you as straight people very well. We live in a heteronormative world, and we probably always will. So try to understand us a little bit. And what you will find is that we're really not that much different from you.
That's right.
We have the same hopes, dreams, desires that you do. We just happen to be a part of this community.
Yeah. Thank you again, Shannon, for that. So let's talk about on the other, I guess, the fun side of things. Okay, if you don't mind. So this is just my perspective. I don't know about you, but a lot of shows are coming up with different variety of characters in the movies and TV shows and whatever, right? Including the superheroes that we grew up with, and now they're becoming gays or lesbians or whatever, right? Do you think that it's helping, or is it more on making more money, or is it saying, okay, here's a check mark saying that, okay, now we had a lesbian and a gay person in the show, so now they cannot make us in trouble? I think there's like 2-3 different questions here. So whatever you feel comfortable, do let me know what your thoughts are on that.
I think it could be a combination of all of that. Like, these shows want to appeal to everyone. And I was in a room, it was last week, and someone said, Superman is bisexual. What's the world coming to? And I thought to myself, well, what's wrong with Superman being bisexual? He's been straight for, how long is Superman, like, when was he created? 50 years? I don't know.
Right.
But we've had to enjoy television with straight characters for forever, And, this year on Dancing with the Stars, there's 2 women dancing together. And I kept telling my mom years ago, I said, I wonder when they're going to have 2 people of the same sex dancing together on Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it, but apparently they're doing very well. They haven't been eliminated.
Well, I mean, that's a separate topic. I mean, if they have talent, they have talent, right? And that's a separate.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you're talking about characters, and like, these are things that we didn't see before.
No.
And almost in every show now, you're going to see either someone who's trans, someone who's bi, someone who's gay, someone who's queer, someone who's non-binary. And to me, it just allows that show to appeal to more masses. Now, is it to increase ratings? Is it to make more money? Is it to check the box? It could be all of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
corporations do that. They hire D&I people to check the box.
Yeah.
You know, to say, okay, we are inclusive. But are you really doing anything besides checking the box? There's corporations that just hang the flag out and call it a day.
Yeah.
There's more to it. But for me personally, I mean, I'm in school, so I don't get a chance to watch TV much. But I love it when I can see some of myself reflected in some of the characters and storylines.
Yeah. Thank you again, because I mean, there are plenty of shows like that, and I really don't know if it is a check mark for saying that I did it. So here's a different perspective. I mean, that's from the entertainment side of things. But how about from a business point of view? I have actually seen certain applications lately online that they talk about EEO, which is the employment opportunities, right? And they talk about that you are Asian, black, or something like that, right? But now they have added another fields in there, that are you male, or are you female, or are you trans? And then after that, then they tell you that which is your preference of your sexuality after, when you have already talked about male, female, and trans. Do you think that we're just going overboard with that, or do we need to be safe in the workplace? Or do you think that they're putting those type of applications on the side and not getting you hired? What are your thoughts on those?
You know, that could be a combination of all those things. Collecting SOGI data, sexual orientation, gender identity data, really needs to be normalized in corporations. But it also needs to be, and it is, voluntary. Like, you can choose whether you want to answer those questions or not. If I come in to apply at Back2Basics to work for your podcast, and I'm a trans woman, and you have on your intake form male or female, well, where do I fit in with that?
Right.
You know, but if you have a more expanded list, I mean, just think about this. Things change, right? Years ago, you saw black or white or maybe other,
right,
on forms, and now you see like a whole list of races.
That's right.
You used to pick up the phone and just start speaking. Now you've got to pick your language. You got to pick one for English, two for Spanish. You go to the ATM, you have to pick your language. You get a book about your refrigerator, you got to find your language. So how is that so different than gender and orientation? You know, I don't see it being so different.
That's right.
Again, it's voluntary. But if you don't know who is in your organization, how do you know how you can serve them?
That's right.
And maybe it's because you've never asked.
Right.
Yet, research shows that organizations who have a diverse workforce make better decisions 87% of the time.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Let me go in and talk to my audience 1 second here, because I have a thought here. 1 second. So guys, when you are applying for a job, or when you have all those type of questionnaires, even if you refinance a house, I just recently refinanced my house, and there's a questionnaire that what are you, a male, female, or trans, and all the other stuff. People are just trying to understand your personality. People are just trying to understand, who the hell are you? And it's nothing wrong with that. Don't take it personally. It is just a question, and just try to understand, to be kind to each other. Now, if you think about this from a diversity point of view, people have asked me that, are you Asian? And the answer is yes. But the first thing that comes in everyone's mind when they're Asian is Chinese. Why is that? Because we have not been taught that way. We need to educate people. So, do I call myself Asian, or do I call myself South Asian? That's another question for another day, but put that in the thought and put comments in there. Think about it. If we don't educate people, we will never know. And that is why I think they're doing the way they're doing, and that's what Shannon has just explained. Yeah. Shannon, thank you so much for that. I hope you resonate to what I said because people need to be educated no matter what we do here. So yeah. So thank you again for that.
I mean, we often fear what we don't understand, and that is what leads to intolerance, and that's what leads to disgust, and oftentimes that's what leads to violence.
That's right.
Whereas what is that? The understanding is the key. Understanding is the key to peace, right? It's just when you just branch out just a little bit. I remember when I first got together with my wife, and you know how excited you are. You want to introduce them to your friends and your crew, so to speak. And we did. I introduced her. We were taking the train home, and I was like, "So, babe, what do you think about my friends?" And I was just expecting her to say, "Oh, Shannon, they were great," because I felt like I had some great friends. And she said, "Shannon, they were very nice, but they are all like you. That is so easy. Why aren't you friends with people who are different from you?" That was not the answer that I expected.
Sure.
And I immediately went into defense mode. "No, it's not true." She's like, "Yes, But the more I thought about it, she was absolutely right. Same industry, same size, same political party, same everything. And that really convicted me, right? So I made a conscious decision. I was like, you know what? I'm going to change this. So now I have to say, one of my really good friends, I could be her mother. She's so young. I have one of my other friends who's in her late 80s. Trans people, all races, all orientations, straight people, Republicans, Democrats, liberal, anything. And it has just really enhanced my life. And I challenge your listeners today to look and see how many Crayola colors should they have in their Crayola box.
Yeah.
Do you remember, back in the day, you only had 8,
right?
And you could only color a certain way.
That's
but
right.
When you got up to 16 and more and more, it just got to be like, woo, Just look at your pictures. Just look at your pictures and see, who am I hanging with? Same thing for corporations. You'll get the new CEO come in, got to ruffle things up, shake things around, and they bring in their friends, right? And most of the time, their friends look just like them.
Yeah. Thank you again, Shannon, for explaining that. Now, you are in the educational field, correct?
Yes.
And you have different varieties of students in many different age groups. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So now the question is, how early is too early to explain to kids or youngsters about these type of topics? Do you think that we should start early or later? There's a reason why I ask this, because there has been certain shows on Nickelodeon that we're teaching not kindergartners, but third graders and fifth graders as to what this whole thing is. Do you think it's too early, or it is just the right time to explain to these kids? Because in my times and your times, when we grew up, people had tough time to express who these are, and there has been suicidal cases too back in the days. So what are your thoughts on that for today's point of view?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Children know as early as 5. I think it's between 5 and 7 where they really understand what their gender is. And, we had a little 6-year-old living downstairs, and she goes to school every day. And so I was just talking to her one day, and I said, you have girls in your class? She's like, yes. And I said, do you have boys in your class? She said, yes. And I said, do you have any kids who are neither boy or girl? And she said, she thought, and she says, no, I don't. But she understood what I was saying. And what I find is that they understand and get it, and they teach the older people. I'm a clinical nurse educator, and I can have a new nurse who's just graduated, And in one particular instance, I wanted her to go through the training, and her boss was like, "No, she's a new nurse. She's young." I'm like, "I know. I want her because she understands it. It's the older people that have the harder time. So I think the younger they are exposed to the variety, the better. And I mean, I don't think it's going to confuse them and it's going to make them be gay or trans or whatever. I just think it's great for them to know that there's more than the binary that society has established for us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have noticed people in high school, and my son's in high school, so I have seen these. That my son came up to me and he told me that, oh, this boy, I think he's gay, and I said, okay, so are you fine with it? I said, why wouldn't I be fine with it? So it made me think a little that kids nowadays are a little more, what is the word, forgiving? Or is it more understanding? I'm not really sure what the right word I'm looking for. If you can help me with that, that will be great. But that's what I'm thinking now. The people, I think, are more educated now, I think. The younger they are, the better they are, I guess.
Yeah, it's more open-minded. They're aware of the differences that exist, and they're, for the longest time, my sister would not let me tell my niece that I was gay.
Right.
And she kept saying, I just don't think she's ready. And I was like, you're not ready.
That's right.
It's not that she's not ready.
Right.
It's you that's not
right.
ready.
Exactly.
And then, she made me wait until, I don't know, I think my niece was like 15 or something. And she said, oh, and then we had the conversation with my niece, and my niece looked at me and my sister, and she was like, duh, Mom. I've known that for years.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Shannon, thank you again. And one last question, if you don't mind. And I don't know, you might agree to answer this question or not, but there has been some few people who have asked me this question, is that a person who changes their sex for male and female, female, male, whatever the situations are, right? And later in time, and this is when they're younger, and later in time when they start dating, okay, does that mean that the other person is considered a lesbian or gay?
Okay, that's a really good question. So, no. First of all, transgender people can be of any sexual orientation. All right, so it doesn't mean just because a person is trans that they're gay. If this person identifies as female, trans woman, they were a man before, they now identify as trans woman, physically, surgically, hormonally, they can be attracted to anyone. So the people that are attracted to them, it doesn't mean that, oh, because this person is a trans woman, I'm now, if this person is a guy, I'm a gay guy. No, not at all. I don't know if I explained that good. But
yeah, no, you did. Because people have asked me this question, and I'm like, I don't know the answer to that. Because
I think the main thing is that you understand that trans people can be of any sexual orientation. Like when I first started this work over 6 years ago, I thought all trans people were gay, but that's not true. They can be of any orientation.
That's right.
Just like any of us can be of any orientation.
Yeah.
Being trans has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Thank you again for Shannon for coming on the show. So before you leave today, and by the way, thank you again for all the information that you've given us here today on going right back to basics on this. So thank you again for that. Do you have any last words or anything like that before you leave today from our show?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me here today, and I want to thank your listeners for joining you and for being open-minded today. The last thing I would say is that we're really more alike than you can ever imagine. And the thing that unites all of us, despite our orientation, despite our gender expression, is that we are all human. And we all want to be the best expression of ourselves and just be given the same opportunities that everyone else has. No special favors, just the same opportunities. So thank you.
Yeah, Shannon, thank you again. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be friends even offline, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you again. If I have any questions, please let me in if I need to ask you a question. So thank you again for
Absolutely.
But thank you
and
again.
Your listeners can always DM me too on LinkedIn if they have questions.
Sure,
I answer all my DMs.
Sure. Thank you again, Shannon, for coming on the show and making this brighter for me. So thank you again.
Thank you.
So guys, we spoke with Shannon today. We talked about the basics of LGBTQ plus, and we talked about the basics of basics. We talked about the color, the letters, and the emotion factor of it. How she went through it, how youngsters are going through it. We talked about pretty much everything that we have covered. If there's something that we have missed, please message me and I will make sure that I'll get someone else or even Shannon again. Because you know what? It needs to be brought out. It needs to be talked out. And as usual, as always, there's a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and here's a quote of the day, and I hope Shannon might like it too. So the quote of the day is, I believe that no one should ever have to choose between a career we love and living our lives with a authenticity and integrity. And I'm telling you, isn't that what she said also? Because you know what? Why does it really matter? Just live your life and be happy. That's all that matters. And that's what basics is all about. That's back to basics, that is. Guys, take care, God bless, and just comment me as much as you can on my episodes. Good, bad, ugly, either way. It'll make my show stronger day by day, week by week. But there are 3 things that I've always said that is going to be fantastic in this show. The content is going to be great. The guest is going to be awesome. But the best one is the host. So guys, take care, God bless, and remember, everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we talked about today. Guys, take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week.